the morning of July 27, 2025, a Russian naval formation, led by its flagship Admiral Makarov, crept silently through the Black Sea under a shroud of secrecy. Their objective, a daring, amphibious landing against Ukraine. The fleet believed their stealth was working, but far above, hundreds of Ukrainian kamikaze drones had already locked them in their sights. Suddenly, silence shattered. A severed signal, a formation exposed, and then chaos. The sky erupted in fire as swarms of drones descended like metallic predators. UJ-22, Baby, units, and Mura V5 strike drones swooped from every direction, their engines screaming as they crashed into Russian hulls. In minutes, precision strikes turned the once proud formation into flaming wreckage, twisted steel sinking beneath black waves. But Ukraine was not finished. High above, a Bayraktar TB2 loitered, its cold electronic eye recording the destruction blow by blow. Each detonation was more than an explosion. It was a hammer strike against Russia's naval ambitions. From Snake Island to the approaches off Odessa, the Black Sea once again proved itself an unforgiving battlefield where wind, wave, and machine converge in merciless war. If you think this story ends here, you're wrong. What unfolded was not just a naval skirmish. It was the front line of high-tech warfare, where drones dictate the destiny of nations. Midnight preparations. At 3:56 a.m., under the faint glow of a crescent moon, the guided missile frigate Admiral Makarov pushed south of the Tarkankut Peninsula. Its radar-absorbing coating gave it a spectral presence, nearly invisible on the sea. On board, sailors braced for action. A K-190 naval cannon was loaded, and the Liber MK missile tubes stood ready. The Makarov was not on routine patrol. It was leading a strike. Trailing behind, the Rapucha-class landing ship carried a company of Russian naval special forces. Escorting them were two Cerna-class fast attack craft, bristling with demolition, gear, electronic warfare systems, and mine-clearing drones. This was not a massive armada, but a precision raiding force, the very doctrine Russia had relied on since the sinking of the Moskva in 2022. Eyes in the sky, far away, in a hidden control bunker on the Mykolaiv steppe, a Bayraktar TB2 had taken. Off at 1:42 a.m., its mission, reconnaissance. Radar had already detected vessels leaving Sevastopol, running dark with AIS transponders switched on. Unlike a civilian plane, the TB2 didn't fly straight to its target. Instead, it circled wide, skirting the S-400 air defense zone in Crimea. Then it slipped down to an altitude below 2,000 meters, hugging the blind spots between coastal ridges. This was how drones outwitted Russia's defenses, by vanishing in the seams between radar coverage. By 3:33 a.m., the TB2 hovered over a designated box of sea, 60 kilometers long, 25 kilometers wide, stretching from Tarkankut to the waters off Odessa. Its MX-15D multispectral sensors swept the darkness, capturing images in visible light, infrared, and ultraviolet. The sea was black and cold in IR, but soon a heat bloom emerged on the horizon. The UAV operator, callsign Warship, leaned in. He wasn't searching for a single ship. He was watching for anomalies, suspicious heat signatures, clustered formations, erratic movements. Then, at 3:47 a.m., a telltale streak appeared on his screen, a vessel running at 28 knots. He zoomed in. The profile was unmistakable. The Admiral Makarov. Its missile bays glowed like furnaces under thermal view. Moments later, 3 more signatures appeared. The Rapucha and 2 Cerna craft. A staging point perhaps for a sabotage corridor or landing near Odessa. The TB-2 maintained its hidden vigil. Not a single shot had yet been fired, but the battle had already begun. The Admiral Makarov was in the crosshairs long before its bow cut through the waves. The drone swarm awakens. At 4:33 a.m., the TB-2 gained company. On Borsuk's monitor, a ghostly armada appeared. Over 100 kamikaze drones converging from every compass point. The attack had been coordinated down to the second. The swarm split into 5 assault vectors. From the west, the south, the southeast, the northwest, and one from below, skimming just meters above the waves. Sea baby drones crept low across the water, their antennas just visible against the dark swells, while Mura V5s descended from the night sky. The kill box was closing. Russia's flagship was already doomed. Protruding antenna tips skimmed the sea's surface, receiving remote control signals as the Ukrainian swarm tightened its formation. The spoke wheel tactic was activated. Drones, dividing into layered waves, each tier flying at different altitudes and speeds, their approach staggered by mere seconds. The goal was simple: to overwhelm Russia's defenses with unrelenting angles of attack. This multi-directional disruption strategy had already been battle-tested in Ukraine's earlier strike on Novorossiysk port, and now it returned deadlier than before. Each drone was engineered with lightweight composite bodies, radar-absorbing surfaces, and ultra-low flight profiles. To Russian radar, they were little more than whispers, shadows darting just above the waves. On board the Admiral, Makarov, the alarm klaxon screamed. Red warning lights flashed across control panels. The AK-630 closing weapon system rotated frantically, its rapid-fire barrels spinning up. CIWS radars tried desperately to lock onto targets, but the drones were too small, too fast, and their radar signatures almost non-existent. The flagship's defensive umbrella was faltering before the assault had even begun. "Target lock. Go for aim," the gunnery officer shouted. Then it began. At 4:35 a.m., 2 Mura V5 drones streaked in from the south, diving at over 70 kilometers per hour. The Makarov's 30mm winter cannons opened fire, tracers tearing through the night sky in blinding bursts. The drones weaved, jinked, and evaded, but they weren't the only threat. From the west, 3 armored sea baby drones slipped beneath beam, chaos, hugging the waves, bypassing the flagship's defensive perimeter. Their true prey was the Rapucha-class landing ship trailing behind. At UAV headquarters 383, operators watched the drama unfold on glowing monitors. The control screen pulsed with dozens of blinking red dots, each dot a kamikaze drone running semi-autonomous AI navigation. Human commanders still held the final trigger authority. "Alpha Group, open fire," came the crisp order over encrypted radio. Seconds later, the Black Sea rippled with 3 sharp explosions. One drone detonated against the Makarov's anti-torpedo net, tearing a gap in its defenses. 2 more slammed into her starboard hull. Flames erupted, licking upward as a critical radar array crumpled, knocked offline. The ship began to list. Crew members rushed with hoses and extinguishers, but the blaze spread faster than they could react. Meanwhile, to the east, Beta Group zeroed in on the 2 Cerna-class fast attack craft. They unleashed decoy drones to blind Russian radar, then dove straight for the kill. A UJ-26 drone slipped through the chaos, smashing into one Cerna's command cabin. A fireball engulfed the bridge, black smoke boiling upward. Disoriented sailors stumbled across the deck, scrambling to retaliate, but the drones struck too quickly. At 4:36 a.m., the TB-2 made its move. Its pylon released a MAM-L precision missile, streaking toward the Admiral Makarov's command tower. The impact wasn't thunderous, but it was surgical. The explosion severed the ship's central communications hub. The flagship's CIWS defenses immediately faltered, blind and uncoordinated without central fire control. This was the opening Gamma Group had been waiting for. They descended like predators in a feeding frenzy. Dozens of drones swarmed from multiple vectors, some skimming the surface like sharks beneath the waves. Each impact rattled the Makarov's steel frame. Then, disaster. One drone pierced the 100mm forward cannon's ammunition depot. The detonation ripped across the bow in a rolling inferno. Fire spread uncontrollably, smoke belching skyward and choking sailors who staggered across the deck, their vision obscured by black haze. By 4:39 a.m., the Rapucha landing ship was under annihilation. Hit the both port and starboard, it reeled as a massive explosion opened its hull. Seawater surged in. The ship began its death roll, listing heavily. Some Russian troops leapt overboard, crashing in the dark water, desperate to escape the chain of secondary blasts. Back on the Makarov, catastrophe compounded. Fires spread to the electrical compartments. The communications antenna collapsed. Onto the deck in a shower of sparks. With every drone strike, the flagship systems failed one after another. Radar was crippled. CIWS silent. Morale shattered. The drones pressed their assault mercilessly. One after another, explosions tore into the formation, dismantling Russia's strike force piece by piece. Above, the TB-2 circled silently, its camera transmitting every detail back to headquarters. Each plume of smoke, every burning deck became data, evidence of both destruction and victory. The battle for the Black Sea had entered its decisive phase. Russia's pride, the Makarov, was burning, alive at 4:45 a.m., and the night horizon glowed with fire. The Admiral Makarov, once a proud symbol of Russian naval power, was now a crippled hulk. A massive secondary blast ripped through the forward deck as the ammunition depot fully ignited, shattering the main radar system and silencing the AK-190 cannons. The control room was engulfed in flames, communications paralyzed. The ship's engines were dead. Listing heavily to starboard, surrounded by fire and darkness, the Admiral Makarov was no longer a warship. It was a tomb, adrift in the black. EC. The Admiral Makarov drifted helplessly, a scorched, hollowed-out hulk tossed by the waves. Once the pride of Russia's Black Sea fleet, it now smoldered like a burnt-out iron carcass, stripped of purpose and power. One of the two Cerna-class fast attack craft had already gone under, swallowed by the dark sea. A towering column of black smoke marked the spot where it had fought its last battle before disappearing beneath the surface. The second Cerna, still, floated, but barely. Its stern was engulfed in fire, flames consuming what remained of its combat capability. The Rapucha-class landing ship fared even worse. Kamikaze drones carrying specialized anti-ship charges had punched massive holes into its port side. Compartments flooded rapidly, dragging the vessel lower with each passing minute. Over 30 Russian naval infantry leapt into the frigid waters, struggling against the Black Sea's brutal currents and biting cold. Some fought to reach safety. Others succumbed to exhaustion and hypothermia before rescue vessels could arrive. At UAV Headquarters 383, the atmosphere was electric, a razor's edge between focus and exhilaration. Operator Borsuk, his gaze fixed on the Bayraktar TB-2's live feed, absorbed every second. His console displayed a staggering figure. Over 70% of Russia's landing force had been neutralized. The victory was undeniable. The swarm of kamikaze drones, from the nimble UJ-22 Baby to the lethal Mura V-Thieves, had proven devastatingly effective. In just minutes, Ukraine's low-cost, expendable weapons had shredded a formation worth hundreds of millions of dollars, bristling with advanced sensors, missiles, and elite troops. Borsuk allowed himself the faintest smile, yet he knew this was only one chapter in a war without end. The assault concluded. Surviving drones withdrew, vanishing into the night sky. What remained behind was devastation. The Admiral Makarov could no longer coordinate its sailors focused solely on survival, on preventing their ship from becoming another Moskva. A massive antenna crashed onto the aft deck with a thunderous clang, its twisted frame sparking against steel. By night's end, the Rapucha landing ship had sunk completely, dragging with it valuable cargo. Mine-clearing robots, demolition equipment, and sealed steel containers of classified supplies. Rescue vessels pulled some Russian soldiers from the sea, but many perished in the icy currents. The last surviving Cerna drifted aimlessly, a crippled shadow, its stern still smoking. The scale of the defeat was crushing. The Admiral Makarov, flagship of the Black Sea Fleet, was now little more than a charred wreck. Repairs, if even possible, would take months, perhaps years. Russia's plan to forge a sabotage corridor near Odessa, or establish a bridgehead at Snake Island, had collapsed in flames. The loss carried bitter echoes of 2022, when the Moskva was sent to the depths. With the Makarov neutralized, Russia had lost not just hardware, but prestige. Its ability to dominate the Black Sea severely diminished. Pressure would mount on commanders in Sevastopol, and from the Kremlin itself, to explain how yet another flagship had been gutted by Ukraine's drones. For Ukraine, the battle was both strategic and symbolic. The spoke formation drone tactic, executed with seamless coordination between TB2 reconnaissance, kamikaze swarms, and semi-autonomous AI systems, had proven its worth. At a fraction of Russia's cost, Ukraine had dealt a crippling blow, preserving